This is what the left has to put forward, that somehow the right wants to eliminate or even kill people that we disagree with. No, not at all. We simply want to keep the innocence of children and women's spaces for women.
In this video from the Alex Michelson show, right-wing MAGA personality Tomi Lahren debates progressive attorney Ethan Bearman on the topic of wokeism. Maybe you've heard of it, but I hadn't seen this video before, and I thought it was interesting. It's from a little while ago, but why don't we watch it together? Tomi Lahren debates Ethan Bearman on wokeism, and then I want to know what you think in the comments.
And I will be able to destroy leftism in this country and leave woke ideology on the dustbin of history.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis making that vow during an interview on the Fox News channel this week. Does leftism need to be destroyed? Let's debate that and more with two of our favorites. An issue is debate. Joining us here in studio, representing the left, is Ethan Bearman. He is a professor at Loyola Law School, and he is the owner of the Bearman Law Firm. And on the right, joining us, Tomi Lahren is back. She's a commentator on Fox News and Fox News Radio. She's also the host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on Outkick. She's joining us from her home base in Nashville, Tennessee. And Tomi, Ethan, before we start, Ethan, can we concede one thing, that Tomi Lahren is indeed fearless?
Yes, I'll go with that. I'll concede. Tomi is fearless.
Yeah, great to have you back, Tomi.
Oh, it's so great to be with you guys. You know, I have to say I am happy that I'm in Tennessee, but I have a lot of love for California. I keep up with everything that you guys are doing there, so I'm excited to have a great discussion. Very spirited, I'm sure.
Well, let's start by talking about a governor you like probably a lot more than our governor, Ron DeSantis, and his vow that leftism needs to be destroyed. Do you agree with that? Is that a bit over the top?
No, it absolutely isn't. And when we're talking about leftism, we're not talking about Democrats or the Democrat Party. We're talking about wokeism. We're talking about radical leftism. And I 100% agree with our governor that needs to be destroyed. And you're seeing a lot of Americans, not just on the conservative side, rejecting wokeism because it's just simply gone too far, as we've seen, especially in the last few months. So conservatives, and I believe just rational Americans in general, are putting a stop to it with their wallets and with their feet, as you see the great exodus from California. Sorry about that, guys. But I think leftism is already being rejected, and I think that a governor, Ron DeSantis, and a president, Ron DeSantis, would eliminate it and just get us back to the good old conservatives, liberals, Democrat, Republicans. I think we can move forward with that.
Ethan, your thoughts on that?
Well, the Regressive Party, of course, speaks its mind through this idea of ending anybody who opposes them. We're seeing that in legislation in red states across the United States right now, denying the existence of certain people even, and refusing to teach the history of what actually has happened in this United States. Of course, destroying any other political party and any rational mind like that, if the only thing that needs to be destroyed in this world is Nazism and the idea that we kill people whom we disagree with. So no, obviously we need people with different political ideologies to have rational, growing debates that challenge our beliefs so we can progress as a nation. Look, if you destroy the idea of what Tomi just described as leftism, you would still have slavery. You would not have a Civil Rights Act. Women wouldn't be able to vote. And, transporting minors across state lines might have a different outcome than they are today. That's actually progressive politics that got those things taken care of.
Tomi?
Well, let's also keep in mind, I don't know if Ethan is a history buff, but let's keep in mind it was actually the Republican Party that ended slavery. So I just want to note that for him. But again, I find this very frustrating when folks on the left talk about how the right or conservatives want to eliminate people. Saying that we don't want adult men dressed in drag gyrating in front of children does not mean we want to eliminate drag queens or gay people or trans people. We want to keep the integrity of women's sports. We want to protect children from grooming and sexualization. That's not eliminating absolutely anybody. But of course, this is what the left has to put forward, that somehow the right wants to eliminate or even kill people that we disagree with. No, not at all. We simply want to keep the innocence of children and women's spaces for women. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Well, look, it's way beyond what you just described, and you also conflated numerous issues. Let's also start with the basics of history, which actually is a topic that I enjoy quite a bit. The Republicans of the 1860s were liberals, and it was the switch in the early 1960s that happened between the Republicans and the Democrats. Liberals were the ones, leftists were the ones who fought against things like slavery. Liberals, Jews, black people, those white people with progressive minds were the ones who fought for the Civil Rights Act and fought against the white people in the South who viciously attacked, brutalized, and murdered people simply for wanting equal rights. We're seeing the leading edge of that right now.
I think that's an excellent point by Ethan Bearman. Right-wingers like Tomi Lahren frequently say something to the effect of it was Republicans that ended slavery, right? And I think Ethan Bearman's point is that was a very different Republican Party, right? The Republicans like to say we're the party of Lincoln, but I think that the party of Lincoln would not recognize the Republican Party today. It has basically been co-opted by MAGA. So you don't have to go all the way back to the Civil War. You can go back, even if you go back 30 years ago, you had a Republican like Bob Dole run for president who supported Planned Parenthood, right? Imagine that today. So Tomi Lahren, Tomi Lahren got in a little bit of trouble a while back for, I believe, saying she was pro-choice. And the people on the right didn't like that, So the Republican Party of today is just unrecognizable from the Republican Party of even 30 years ago. And we're certainly seeing that taken to new extremes today.
By the way, attacking a Target store for putting up an LGBTQ display to be inclusive, that's violence to destroy a piece of private property in that case. And it's not healthy for anybody to do that.
Okay, Alex, I'm seeing the gaslighting here and I have to just jump in. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember 3 years ago, but my local Target was boarded up because of the BLM Summer of Love. So when I hear somebody saying that conservatives are somehow destroying property at Target, I'm sorry, I'm waving the BS flag and I hope you can see it in California. That's utterly ridiculous. Target has had pride displays for many years and no one took issue with them. It wasn't until you had the tucking bikinis and you started putting this paraphernalia on children's clothes targeting children that we had an issue. So we have every right to be capitalists and to vote with our pocketbooks, and we are doing that with Target. We did it with Bud Light. And from the party that literally invented cancel culture, that literally wanted to cancel everybody from 2020 on, I find it really rich the Democrats are now crying over the boycott of Bud Light and Target.
Well, Target actually sold those bikinis in years past, but we don't need to get into the specifics of the Target sales.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there. They go on to talk about some other stuff. Again, this is an older video, this debate with Tomi Lahren and Ethan Bearman. I hadn't seen it before, but wokeism is this kind of boogeyman that comes up again and again on the right. They use it as this kind of catch-all term to describe anything they don't like. Tomi Lahren is one of the best at this, I think. It doesn't hurt that Tomi Lahren is beautiful. There's something hypnotic about, the whiteness of those teeth and the lip gloss that she wears. And she throws in things. She tries to sneak in stuff like, the Republicans are the ones that eliminated slavery, but maybe forgets that she's debating a professor. Ethan Bearman knows his history, I think, responded to her very confidently there. But, people like Tomi Lahren label Joe Biden and Barack Obama as being these lefties, these radical leftists, which, they're very centrist Democratic politicians. To me, the problem with Biden was not that he was such a lefty. It was that he wasn't left enough. Remember the disappointment after the Yes We Can and Barack Obama that he wasn't able to deliver on the progressive ideas he campaigned on. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and bash Obama like Tomi Lahren would, but I think Barack Obama was closer to Ronald Reagan than the kind of Karl Marx that people like Tomi Lahren would paint him as, and Ron DeSantis for that matter. The idea of getting rid of leftism, right? Basically, when they say leftism, I think they mean anything they don't like or would want to get rid of, and we're seeing. With Project 2025 going on now, we're seeing that very actively be put into play. But, I would argue that the Democratic establishment has less to do with like a Bernie Sanders and more to do with the billionaire class and the moneyed interests and the Nancy Pelosi not wanting to divest from trading stock while being a sitting senator. Bernie Sanders caucuses with the Democrats, but declares himself a democratic socialist. And I think this barnstorming tour that Bernie Sanders is doing now with AOC, they are espousing these populist, air quotes, socialism. I put it in air quotes because it's been demonized by people like Tomi Lahren. But we can see the popularity. I think a lot of people voted for Trump because he said he was going to do some of the things that he is clearly not doing that Bernie Sanders and AOC are talking about in terms of healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. You can watch, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's plenty of content on that. And I don't even think Bernie Sanders and AOC are radical. What they are proposing is not radical. Where we are now feels radical to me, with 400 families controlling the vast majority of all of the wealth and the rest of us having to really struggle just to make ends meet and get health care. That feels radical to me, but not radical enough for Tomi Lahren, I suppose. For Tomi Lahren, it's all about tucking in a bikini bottom and a man in lipstick and, oh gosh, our children, the poor children are going to be corrupted, right? You can't have a drag queen read a book to a kid, it'll turn them gay. I think not only is that absurd, I think it's a really fascinating scare tactic from the right. Like, why is that so terrible? If anything, to me, it's a little bit laughable. I don't see how that's terrifying. But anyway, Tomi Lahren always makes for a good video. I think I wasn't aware of Ethan Bearman. I think he does a very good job of speaking clearly and standing up against Tomi Lahren throughout this debate. Anyway, I wanted to share it, even though it's a little bit old. See what you think. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments.